Welcome to Coach Rivals, all zero viewers as we wait for the thing to tick. So I'm live as well right now, but yeah.
You're no longer live?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, awesome.
And so, hey, everybody, welcome in. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Pathfinder. I'll be one of your casters today, and with me is.
Hi, my name is Cal, Ocalzone. I play top lane, and I'll be providing commentary for today's game.
All right, so we've had a really interesting conversation before here. We were discussing, right, with the diversity of the ranks between players and coach rivals. What do teams do in regards to draft? Do they forego like highly mechanical champions who are like their comfort picks for low rank players? Or do they still say, hey, the comfort picks are worth more than team composition and forego those safer and less mechanically demanding options for like top lane such as like Malphite or Ornn? Like, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so personally, I think it really just depends on like what that person's one trick might be. Like I highly value comfort. But with that said, it depends kind of like on the style of what the teams actually want to do and accomplish. Because obviously, if somebody is just a Tryndamere one trick or something that prioritizes split pushing and solo queue, your team really is going to have to know how to play around that and really balance that play style of yours with their play style. So, um, really, it just depends on what how the teams actually approach the game. Some teams like to group up early and try to get the dragons kind of snowballing. Some like to skirmish around that top side for that first Rift Herald. So really it'll just depend. I always look at in the early game the triangle on the top side of the map, the top jungle and mid laner. If you pick a heavy farming jungler and the other one picks a pretty skirmish focused one, it'll really come to fruition with like how those different styles will clash once it kind of gets to that first real objective fight.
Yeah, it's also going to be really interesting to see what objectives this like teams prioritize. You might be able to prioritize like an early herald, but in some cases you give away some like crucial early drakes, right? I think if the early drake is like a mountain or an infernal, I usually see more teams prioritize that over getting an early herald. And yeah, what's your take on that?
Yeah, really, it's just dependent on the champions that you have. Because I mean, like for instance, if you have a Kale topside, you are so fine with giving at least the first two dragons, just because you know how the character works, you know how her levels synergize so well with her kit. So really, it'll just be pretty champion dependent. I've seen, like after scouting some of the teams, a lot of them, the supports like to play kind of differing play styles. We have one that's a little bit more engage centric, and one that's a little bit more the enchanter mage type. So maybe bot lane could be spicy early, but I still always look towards that top triangle.
All right, well, we're just waiting for team on the right, who's ironically going to be on the left today, to lock in their last few players before we can go up and start the match. And just as a refresher to you guys watching, the team on the right, if I have it right, lost the last game. Is that correct, Cal?
Yep, that's correct.
Right, and then what does JG stand for again?
It's just good enough.
Just good
Yeah,
enough.
and just good enough managed to win last week. No doubt, a lot of their power is centered along their. Uh, uh, wait, just good enough has two platinums. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, so it'll
So
be
yeah,
centered around probably a lot of their bot lane, coming in with a plat 1 and a gold 4. But they'll be going up against a diamond 2 and a silver 2. So one of them
yeah,
plays a little bit more heavy engage, one of them plays a little bit more enchanter style. So we'll kind of just see how that clashes.
Yeah, and I think like this is how these two teams will eventually structure their different choices throughout the draft and the game. Because on one hand, you have two high-ranking platinum players, right? They essentially act as like a dynamic duo to support their entire team, while the other team they only have that one Diamond 2 player. But as you all know, Diamond 2 players are extremely good at the game, beyond the levels of Platinum. So instead of a dynamic duo kind of comp, they might want to draft a composition that can just protect that Diamond 2, make sure he survives in the team fights. But I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah, definitely. It'll really just be about playing around your strengths and your weaknesses. So a lot of it will happen pre-game with just the draft. We'll see what kind of 80 carry they decide to put the diamond player on. He looks like he's been playing a lot of Ezreal. I think Ezreal currently is the strongest 80 carry on the patch. He does play a lot of mid lane. One thing that I would love to see that I would think would be really spicy. Zig's got a buff, and I actually personally think that he is better bottom. With a little bit of support, I think that he is a exceptionally good character. But obviously, that would just make you very AP heavy, and he doesn't necessarily pair the best with enchanters. So
Yeah,
we'll
you're
just
right
see how
about
the
that.
styles work.
However, Ziggs does have that additional lane pushing and like turret destroying ability, with his passive. And I think on the subject of Ezreal, did he get buffed or a patch ago or something, or was it Divine
So
Sunder that got
it
buffed?
was really just Divine Sunder, yeah. And I mean, Riot, with the patch that came through yesterday, they really toned down several of the champions that really benefited from the Divine Sunder buff. Ezreal, surprisingly, was not one of them. So I foresee him to get chopped here in the next couple weeks. I really think that with being able to go almost like a hybrid tank build. I mean, you're actually pretty tanky with how much damage you actually put out. A lot of them have been going Divine Sunder, Man Immune, Cooldown Boots, Surrender's Grudge, into Frozen Heart. Because obviously, with the conversion of the mana into AD, Frozen Heart actually does provide some damage stats that a lot of other characters aren't actually able to take advantage of.
Yeah, I think what other patch like stuff about this patch that's very significant here? I think the rework Mundo is available for everyone to play. Is that correct?
That is correct.
We'll see if there's going to be a really surprising Mundo pick here because with the patch being out so soon, I doubt anyone on either of these two teams have the ability to practice Mundo extensively before these games.
I agree. I agree.
And
Yeah,
then,
well, it'll be interesting for sure. I do see some Mundo games on the jungler from, let's see what team this is. This would be Team on the Right. Their jungler has been practicing it. It was 5 days ago though, so it was pre-rework. Maybe he's been practicing on another account, getting ready for this tournament. So
yeah, it'll be very sneaky indeed. And I think on that subject as well, both 80 carries, if I'm not wrong, play Ezreal or have at least some experience on Ezreal. Is that correct?
yep, that is right. Yeah. Looks like Will Win, who's the Diamond 280 carry for Team on the Right, has been playing it quite a bit. Literally just played it an hour ago. And then looks like the Gold 480 carry for the other team has played him twice within the last 3-4 days, or actually 3 times in the last 3-4 days. Looks like he does like to favor more towards Zaya and Ash, but his third most played is actually going to be Ezreal. So
Hmm. I think Ezreal could be a very hotly contested pick here. Do you
absolutely.
expect any other surprise picks from any of these two teams?
Um, I really don't know. I think really just the Ezreal and the Mundo will be two very telling picks on what direction they want to go. I think both teams will early pick they'll probably, in my opinion, pick 80 carry support jungle, and then just let the solo lanes kind of just be let a couple things get banned out and then go from there. Looks to me like the mid laner for Team on the Right is a little bit of a Fizz one trick. He seems to be favoring Fizz a lot. Could just be for fun. Could just be enjoys the champion, but looks like they have played quite a bit of Fizz. I don't necessarily think that he's that good in the meta right now, but I highly value comfort over anything else. It's just whether or not the other team is actually going to give it to him or not.
Yeah, and it's very scary how if you're a comfort pick Fizz and you get, ahead in lane by 500-600 gold, you can play, just a standard mage like Orianna, Syndra in the mid game and then find yourself getting one shot by the Fizz, you know, if you don't have your hourglass up. And it's a very real scary threat in lane. And also during like ganks on the bot lane, ganks on the top lane. Fizz is also pretty good because his R is a very decent range. But I think the champion tends to lose power over time when champions start to get more survivability towards the late game. And I think he also gets stunted by multiple like mountain drakes if the team has an option to have like Drake Soul or have multiple mountain drakes. I think that's when Fizz starts to lose his power quite a bit.
Yeah, he definitely does. But with that said, it's more so just a little bit of change of a play style once a little bit after mid game comes around. Early game, you have the capability once you hit 6 to be able to 100-0 just about anybody, and then later on in the game you have to be a little bit more slippery, no pun intended, for like playing around your playful trickster, your Zanya's cooldowns. So really it'll just be on how they actually approach the fights, because you're really not going to be able to just all in one shot. The only people that you might be able to one shot, the other team is the one that plays the tank support. So really your only option would be their AD carry. And say for instance they pick a Zaya, you really don't get the option to ult her ever in a team fight. She will just counter your ult with her ult. And honestly, in my opinion, I think that the Fizz ulti is more important towards them winning the team fight than a Zaya ulti is, because Zaya is still going to be able to put out a lot of damage. Fizz, if he uses that playful trickster in order to actually do damage, then he's pretty susceptible to being blown up.
Yeah, and I think on that note, one pick that we've seen in last week's game to counter ADCs is Mordekaiser, because you know that Mordekaiser R, Death Realm, takes the ADC out of the equation in a lot of team fights, and then the ADC has to purchase the um, Quicksilver
QSS.
Sash 1300 gold item to be able to counter this Mordekaiser's Death Realm, and they call that the what was it called? The something tax, if I'm not wrong.
Oh yeah. The Mord tax. I mean, yeah, like
The Mord tax.
I mean the Skarner tax, same thing. Yeah, like depending on what champion they're playing, there's several champions that they're almost a necessity against. If you're really ahead, not only is the active extremely important, but say for instance you're up against a team that has two different AP threats, QSS actually feels a lot better. What feels really bad is whenever there's only one ability that you have to QSS, and
Yeah.
it's not cleansable, and their team has a lot of AD. Then buying QSS feels really bad. But as long as you get value out of the MR as well as the active, it actually is fine to just buy it and sit on it.
Yeah, especially into like a lot of AP assassins, I feel, because that 25 MR or 30 MR that you get from QSS really helps to tone down the effects of magic penetration, as well as you also get a lot of gold efficiency out of it. But like you said, if there's a lot of like AD or especially like AD assassins on the enemy team, QSS really doesn't do much for the ADC in terms of survivability, right? So we'll see if Mordekaiser becomes a contested pick at all, because as you know that Diamond 2 Ezreal, the top laner might have to eat a bullet here and just death realm him every game and hope that his team can carry on the fight. But yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens. It's just going to be a few more minutes, folks. We have confirmation that all players are in their respective spots. We're just waiting on the green light to go. All right. Actually, one thing we didn't talk too much today is
Ban's coming in
jungle.
quick. Ban's coming in quick. Okay, first ban for a team on the right is going to be Annie. They must have done some good scouting, and
And then
right away.
absolutely instant fizz ban from Just Good Enough.
Yep, the
Yeah, we
Malzahar
mentioned
ban
the fizz
following
one
up.
trick.
Yeah, they're really banning some strong, good CC mages. The team on the right really is prioritizing trying to, I guess, free up their mid laner. Or maybe they have a very specific pick in mind. The Lulu ban coming out for just good enough. The
Yeah, I think,
Mordekaiser, there you go.
yeah, team on the right is definitely banning out champions that they know can neutralize the ADC. You know, with the power of the Annie with her stun, the Malzahar with his ultimate, the Mordekaiser with his Death Realm. I think it's very ADC centered way of thinking in terms of the ban, and they prioritize the Ezreal pick. I'm very surprised that Just Good Enough did not ban out the Ezreal, instead opting out to do the Fizz, the Lulu, and the Amumu. I mean, they're all strong team fighters with good sustain, especially on the Lulu who can buff up the ADC. But I feel like Ezreal is a really good pick for a team on the left. I mean, on the right. Sorry.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is really exactly how draft went in our heads. I mean, we could tell that both teams really like to play the Ezreal, and I think giving your best player on your team the best champion or the best AD carry in the game right now, I think that was a really good move. They do try to counter it with a little Sivir. She has a really good time against Ezreal early game because she's able to not only spell shield his abilities, but then also shove him in. And Ezreal, he can last hit under tower pretty well with his Mystic Shot. But you really want to kind of keep it in the middle of the lane so you actually have an ability to hit Qs on the enemy.
All right. Interesting two picks for a team on the right. They have Katarina as their mid laner and Nautilus as their support, if I'm assuming correctly. None of these champions seem to be very ADC focused, except for Nautilus with the peel, but you can also argue that Nautilus is more of an engagey support, and he's not particularly preoccupied with keeping the ADC alive. So these are very interesting choices for a team on the right. And we got a Nivea picked up for Just Good Enough. Very, very oppressive champion, especially with tons of CC. A wall can be very annoying. This definitely curbs a lot of mobility options that the team on the right could have. Might even neutralize Nautilus engages if the Anivia plays it correctly. Let's see on the second ban phase what Just Good Enough bans, and it's going to be the Morgana.
Yeah, and Anivia into Katarina early. A little bit volatile for the Anivia, but honestly, if she's able to make it to like level 6 and above, she really actually does pretty well into that lane. She is going to be susceptible to ganks. We'll see who their jungler is and how they want to try to maybe pressure, or they want to. I'm interested to see what lane they want to pressure, because obviously their first pick was around Ezreal. They then second, first rotation, they picked up the Nautilus. They then come out with 2 support bans. So I'd expect to see some pretty heavy bot focus in this game.
Yeah, and on that subject, Just Good Enough, they have Diana, Anivia, and now Brand being hovered. This is going to be very, very heavy AP focus, and as well as really good range. But you can argue that Katarina, if she gets ahead enough, has the potential to infiltrate the backline really quickly, especially since Brand and Sivir don't really have that much survivability or mobility in their kits.
Yeah, absolutely. Jarvan did just get a buff. Let's see if they decide to lock him in.
Yep,
They did. Yeah, so Jarvan
lower
did get a
shield
little bit of a
cooldown.
buff. Yeah, so they flattened out his shield cooldown. A lot of people have just been putting 1 point into it. So that does actually help a lot whenever champions only put 1 point typically into an ability, and then they lower the cooldown across all ranks. It feels really good for that champion. I actually haven't seen any gameplay of Jarvan recently, so I don't know how good he's actually going to be. It'll be interesting to see who he's up against.
Oh, it's gonna be Vagar. So I think if I'm not wrong, that Diana pick from Just Good Enough is gonna be a Diana jungle. I'm
That's
not
correct.
sure if Jarvan is a very good answer for Diana jungle, but however, he does facilitate a lot of engage, especially with Nautilus
I think it
onto
could
the
be.
Ezreal.
I, I I really don't even know where these champions are going. That's what's so crazy. I mean, it could be a Viger support. It could be a Jarvan support. I mean, honestly, there's so many different options. Honestly, Jarvan, Nautilus, and Viger all have the ability to play support. So I actually don't know who's going to be their junglers, either between Nautilus or Jarvan. Their support could be any of the 3. Honestly, Jarvan could top, Nautilus could top. We just got to wait and see, I guess.
I think we've seen the game plans of these two teams. I really like the Nocturne pick on Just Good Enough. That's gonna definitely give them a lot of more team fighting power. It might help to nullify the Jarvan Nautilus engages and like impair vision on Ezreal in the back line. However, I think team on the right, their game plan is to have pick potential. With the Jarvan, the Nautilus, Veigar with his ultimate. They seem to like to manufacture picks while Just Good Enough can their game plan is to just team fight properly, use their extended range to not get baited into the picks and like frag the front line instead. So
It'll
yeah, what
definitely
are
be
your thoughts
interesting.
on that?
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. I'm ready to see what the actual lane assignments are going to be. I do know Nocturne is pretty oppressive early, so we will see who he ends up having to go into lane against.
Yeah, and
Um,
I'm also curious, is this going to be the traditional Nocturne with the Stride Breaker and Steric's Gauge for survivability, or will the Nocturne, pull something out and go full lethality, for example, with like Prowler's Claw or Yomu's Ghostblade, try to one-shot the Ezreal that's on the back line, but just as you said, the Divine Blunder, it got buffed.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see. I think that he does need to go. Nocturne does need to go a little beefy. They really are lacking some front line. You have two mages in the back. Sivir doesn't really do the best whenever she's kind of left out to dry on her own. So she might have a little bit of an issue with the Jarvan. Obviously, you can spell shield the damage from Jarvan, but you're not going to actually be able to get out of that cataclysm. It doesn't actually eat the entire ability, just the damage from it. So
Yeah, I
it'll
definitely
be
do agree.
interesting.
Sivir is more of a traditional team fighting ADC that favors, a defined front line, support in the back line, and with peel and long range as the strengths of the overall team composition. And this is like a very non-traditional team composition, especially for Sivir. I think Just Good Enough just pick the Sivir as a vacuum answer into the Ezreal. But then again, team on the right, yeah, a lot of their power is had in pick potential. So if they don't manufacture these picks, I think um, you know, Just Good Enough will eventually win team fights, despite the non-traditional format that Sivir is filling in these team comps.
Yeah, I think they're really just valuing the R, just the click button and go. I think that they are prioritizing killing the Ezreal over probably anything. They're just going to be very susceptible into counter engages because, um, really with Sivir R, all of those champions are able to kind of like the Diana and Nocturne are going to be able to get onto you, and then it's going to be a little bit of a disjointed team fight. I feel like for Just Good Enough. Um, team on the right is going to be pretty interesting. I feel like I'm really excited to see which lanes each of these champions are going to be going into, just because they do have a few champions that are able to do a few different things. I think that the Nautilus is going to be support. It looks like they banned out the Annie and the Malzahar because it's going to be a Katarina mid. But then I mean, where's the Viger gonna go? So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, what I really really like to see is Viger, Nautilus bot lane, and Ezreal top lane. That would be something to witness.
Ezreal can't. I want to say Chovy is the one who has been playing Ezreal mid a lot lately, so we'll see if that could come out too.
Ezreal into Nocturne. Yeah, I don't think that's the best idea, but yeah, we'll just have to see, right? Because I'm very curious as to if Ezreal can, or the team rather, can benefit from Ezreal having his own lane rather than having to share his XP with someone else in bot lane, which is, I think, what some teams or some challenger players do rather, where they have a hyper carry ADC in the mid lane to kind of accelerate the game and have them reach like a late game state earlier on. But however, they do suffer from the traditional ADC weaknesses of being, squishy, sometimes not having a lot of mobility, being susceptible to ganks.
Yeah, really, it'll just be so really it'll just be how well the Ezreal is able to survive into the kind of mid late game, because that's really where he comes into his own as a champion. Jarvan does have a lot of early gank pressure. Obviously, it's very known that Jarvan has a strong level 2. They could be maybe looking for a little bit of cheese bot lane with the Nautilus hook into Jarvan EQ combo. They do have 2 very immobile champions. Excuse me, champions bottom side with the Sivir and the Brand for just good enough. So we'll just kind of see where the junglers want to focus. Diana very quick at farming. Jarvan not the quickest at farming. So typically, I don't know if it's going to be my opinion on this game, but typically I kind of look towards the jungles and kind of look at how well each of the champions are able to farm, what their kind of win cons are and everything. Um, I do you want to do predictions yet since we've seen the drafts?
Honestly, it's pretty hard to call in my opinion. For the last 2 seasons, there's been a lot of focus on jungle in the meta. A lot of people have claimed that jungle as a role is probably the most important one in the game at that. And we have seen Riot try to curb this fact by reworking the jungle timers and the XP and when they spawn a little bit. But as you mentioned earlier, you're very correct in saying that farm speed is very crucial to jungle success, and jungle success that usually translates to more objectives and a better transition into late game. So I think if you were to tell me to make predictions, I would put just good enough in a very slightly better position than the team on the right. But honestly, it feels like an Ezreal 1v9, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, I think we might see the Ezra 1v9 personally. They don't have any clear-cut tanks. He's going to be able to really rip through their team. I feel
Yeah.
like if he right, so here's my prediction. If Ezreal dies less than 3 times in lane, they will win the game. If he
Ugh.
is able to transition from a clean enough early game to a decent mid game, if we get past 30 minutes, Ezra's going to take over it. The only person I feel like that really has almost any pressure onto him is going to be the Diana. Even the Nocturne, when Nocturne builds the more tanky, Ezra's going to have a Z up. It's really hard for you to tether. This is a Diamond 2 player, so I have faith that every time the Nocturne R's into him and he's going to wait until he tethers him before he's going to E away. Um, we'll just have to wait and see. There's a
Yeah.
little bit of a skill gap between the junglers, so that would be my only point that would maybe tip it towards just good enough on the carry Diana versus who knows yet in the jungle role. So we'll just have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, which is why I'm gonna start questioning if Nocturne should actually go like the traditional build, because if I were in Team Just Good Enough's position, a Nocturne is essentially just an atomic bomb that his only aim is to kill Ezreal, and then if he gets that complete, that's gonna that's the team fight done for Just Good Enough. I will say though, I highly favor that Diana pick over the Jarvan. I think also that it's also harder to itemize against. Just Good Enough's comp is harder to itemize against, but at the same time, Ezreal is a very high skill gap, very like nuanced champion where there's a lot of very crucial seconds, half seconds, 0.3 of a second, where it could go from being obliterated by Nocturne or Diana to absolutely coming out on top and just as I said earlier, 1v9ing. So, I can't wait to see how this Diamond 2 player is going to show off his Ezreal ability, and I think it's going to be a really fun one to watch.
Yeah, this would definitely be a good one.
Yep. Yep. So for everyone still watching on Twitch, thank you very much for staying with us. We just have 2 more minutes of spectator delay, and then we will, get the game we've all been waiting for.
Definitely hype about this matchup. Are you in the spectate? Can you tell me who the jungle is? Is it Jarvan? And is it what is their lane assignments?
No, I'm not in the spectate yet. We'd have to wait 2 minutes before the loading screen pops up for us, I'm afraid.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. It should be exciting. I'm really excited just to see As soon as this loading screen happens, I'm really excited to
Yeah,
see
I
what roles
think
these champions are going to be in.
I'll
I
I'll
think
give everybody
based.
a sneak preview here. Coming in from the back end, I'm gonna let everybody see what's going on as we've got our loading screen coming up. If you're watching the channel, you can now see where all these crazy picks came and where they went. So it looks like we've got a Nocturne top, Diana jungle, Nivea mid, Sivir ADC, Brand support. So how do you feel?
Oh, I
I'm
think
more concerned about the team on the left. That's what
yeah.
I'm excited for.
Um,
Team on the
in my
left or team on the
opinion,
right?
though.
Or team on the right. I'm sorry.
Yep. They just had to troll us with the team name, didn't they? Never mind. Yeah. It looks like
You can
6% to go.
spectate.
Oh, and Nocturne took Ignite too, by the way. That's just gonna generate so much pressure and threat into Veigar. Honestly, cannot wait to see how this match is gonna go.
Yeah, it'll definitely be exciting to see how the Viger is able if he is able to survive the laning phase.
hmm in my opinion, or rather, as a question, do you think this is gonna be more of like a top lane kingdom kind of game, or will the Ezreal 1v9 it out?
It's going to be tough to call. I personally think that Diana just sees dollar signs top side, and she's going to really put a lot of heavy focus on that top side.
Yeah, I think she's gonna pitch a tent as well.
Yeah. So it's actually kind of hard to say now. That was a
Yeah,
little bit of a curveball pick with the Viger. We'll see if it works out. Um,
yeah, because
I don't
I
know.
think the way it works out, the only thing Viger has against Nocturne is that his stun circle, which Nocturne does have the spell shield to go through. And in my opinion, Veigar, might die a lot in lane if he underutilizes his glacial augment rune.
Yeah, we definitely shall see. It'll just all be about timing on the Nocturne side. If he is able to spell shield the cage, or if he is going to spell shield early. Because if he spell shields early, then he might be able to be kind of susceptible to some early harass, and because it is a melee versus range matchup. Primarily, early game Nocturne does just want to queue the wave and really just shove it and get a lot of priority. But we will just have to wait and see.
Uh, Question for you: do you know how the interaction between the Nocturne spell shield and Veigar's cage goes? Because I think if you spell shield the first instance of Veigar's cage, you will get stunned by the second instance. Is that correct?
I'm actually not sure how the interaction works. I do believe that is how it does work. I think it's just one single ability. I know the cage kind of has some weird interactions.
Yeah, because if you get stunned by the cage once, it doesn't let you get stunned again. So Very interesting if we are going to be able to find it out this game. So, all right, very typical starts for both teams. They do have wards on the river, but nothing else. All right. Oh, very early trade for the Nocturne. Just using his passive and the Q into the Veigar, very standard. Very good poke landed here by just good enough on the Ezreal. But otherwise, nothing really to report.
Yeah, and you talked about where these matchups might lie, and so it's going to be really interesting to see if these teams can capitalize on some of those thoughts too, as we see an early engage in the top lane as well, and a hook coming in from the Nautilus in the bot lane, so very aggressive early on as that Veigar.
Yep, forced the flash from the Brand. Nothing else though. Brand has been hitting very good poke on the Ezreal, but as we see top lane, that's also equally true of Nocturne into the Veigar. But if I were on any of these other teams, I might have just invaded, to be honest, just to spice things up.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they started, rather traditional. But
oh, that's a very early gank coming in from the top side from Jarvan. Nocturne is very pushed up because of his pressure, and he's gonna be stunned up by the cage. Does Nocturne does not have flash because he opted in for the ignite.
And able to get away, maybe.
No, he's not, but he's waiting for the Diana. The counter gank is very, very spicy, and Diana gets first blood. Jarvan gets traded back. Veigar flashes away, but Diana follows in with the flash, and that's a double kill for the Diana. Very, very crucial for just good enough. Wow. Action-packed bot lane. Oh, yeah, but there might be a kill on the bot side now. Ezreal has been exhausted, but no, it actually ends up in Ezreal being dead. And let's see, does team on the right, okay, team on the right manages to save the Nautilus, okay, and Diana trying a gank on the mid lane.
Yeah,
however,
Katarina to get away is being chased out now as Katarina comes
absolutely E, alright, and Katarina dashes away with the Jarvan. Very, very good work from both teams. But, my gosh, that early play by KC the Knight on Diana at jungle, absolutely phenomenal. Could not have timed the counter gank better. Maybe could have to save the top lane, but I think they were baited just well enough so that both players were committed no matter what, as soon as the gank starts.
Yeah, I mean, tons of action early on. I mean, it all started with that Veigar being chunked down, and I think, still staying in there with the 1-1 in the top lane, and Nocturne having so much pressure is the one who went down in that counter gank, and then we saw it kind of happen again. But Jarvan was able to assist and get Katarina out of there as Katarina was starting to get caught out as well. So very aggressive early on, and this bot lane is super pushed up too. So
yeah, again, kudos to just good enough for being able to kill that Ezreal in that early game bot lane skirmish. Very, very, very crucial pickup. I cannot stress this enough because they just essentially killed a Diamond 2 ADC just like that.
Yeah, and I mean, that was kind of the chatter in the pre-game about, how do you shut down this Ezreal? That's going to be so important. And an early game denial is going to help with that for sure. And the question is, can they keep it up? Sivir's got that wave clear, so maybe they'll be able to put the pressure back into their face as well.
Having a fed Diana will translate very well into bot lane pressure and objective control. As we can see, Diana, I think she's starting up the Drake right now. And it doesn't look like that Jarvan's going to contest it. That's going to be the Mountain Drake pickup for Team Red. Now, Nocturne with level 6 engages onto the Veigar, and he gets the kill. Just so many auto attacks that Veigar just couldn't tank. And now we're gonna have a fight on the bot lane. Nocturne misses the Q. Very light fight actually. But then we see an all-in in the mid lane. Katarina ignites ticking down, but Anivia will have the passive to save her. It looks like Jarvan is finding a bot lane gank. Ooh,
Double
knocks up the Sliver,
trouble.
and that's going to be both laners on the side of Just Good Enough, dying to the really good bot lane gank by Jarvan.
Yeah, that was really nicely done. I mean, Anivia just used that passive up, right? So that's something to remember. Anivia is very fragile right now without having that egg.
Yep.
But a really great response from Jarvan to get in there and take out both of them, which we've got a nice little wave building up here for the bot lane. So they're looking to get some plate gold off of this for sure.
Very crucially, the Ezreal gets 1 kill and 1 assist, and Nautilus gets 1 kill. Not the best, but a pretty good outcome so far for team on the right, especially since Jarvan currently is almost only slightly higher than half CS from the Diana. But now we'll see a fight in the mid lane. Nothing doing
checking
so far.
in the top lane, not a good idea as... Yeah, that...
As a mage, absolutely.
That
Immediately
hurts.
gets obliterated once he finds Diana. No hope of survival for the Veigar, especially since he didn't have any flash up.
Yeah, going to put a ward down. You know, you want that vision, especially when it looks like you've got a very mobile team coming on here to try and save you, but it just was the wrong time right there to put that ward down.
Yeah,
you're seeing the
absolutely.
response from that too, as we got a lot of counter jungling going on right now. But look what's going on in the bot lane. They're trying for it again. Maybe to see.
Yeah.
No, Jarvan's just setting up. But
Yeah, will Jarvan invade here? He has Katarina with him, and Anivia has to recall because she has no egg and was pressured by Katarina. Yeah, it does look like Jarvan will be taking that blue buff on the side of Just Good Enough. And we see the answer, the Diana just... Oh, that's an all-in on the mid lane. Katarina does so much damage when she is 6. And an all-in from the top lane forces the flash from the Veigar. Very, very good trade for the Nocturne because the cooldown of his ultimate is much, much lower than the cooldown of Veigar's flash. And Anivia sitting very, very low in the mid lane. If she's not careful, this is going to be very easy. That forces the flash away, but then Katarina flashes into the turret, gets the kill. Very well done from the Katarina. I don't know if Anivia staying there was the best idea. You know, Katarina, so much kill potential on people who are low of health. And on that subject, we see a dive coming up in the top lane. Oh,
no.
But he gets stunned up by Veigar's cage. This is going to be a huge shutdown for Veigar. This Nocturne might have just given him the ticket back to coming back, as we see a trade happening in the bot lane. You know, Bran takes the Ezreal very, very low, but no summoner spells. Burnt on the side of team on the right.
yeah, in that cage, I mean, wow, talk about a perfect cage while that aggro was on that tower to have that tower come in and finish him off. That was
Absolutely, and it's very crucial because the Nocturne, he's missing quite a lot of CS up in the top side right now. And he's only 1 level up as opposed to 2 levels up before the gank happened, or the dive happened rather, if I'm not wrong. As we see Jarvan clearing vision on his bot side, he knows now that his blue buff is taken, so he's going to recall. I'm assuming this is going to be Drake recall. That's going to be coming up in 30 seconds.
Yeah, should be an interesting fight setting up. You know, JGE got that first Drake, and we'll have to see if team on the right's going to respond. You know, how are they going to play it? It's back and forth. I mean, the gold lead isn't that much. The kill lead is only 1 at this point. It'll be interesting to see if this becomes a highly contested Drake, and how these teams kind of feel this game might go. You know, game plan wise. We've seen a lot of roaming. We saw Nocturne move with Diana, so it's just going to be a matter of where the people are going to capitalize. We haven't really seen much crack, so we haven't seen any plates taken on any towers yet either, I don't think.
Okay, gang coming in the mid lane. Katarina tries to all in, but she does not have enough damage. Diana gets the kill, and this is going to be really good for Just Good Enough because now they have mid lane pressure as well with the teleport. Nocturne also has teleport. Looks like there's going to be a TP coming down from Nocturne. He's going to pop the ultimate. And he decides to go in on the Jarvan, but he does not have the support of his team. How tanky is he going to be? It's going to be a 1-for-1. Jungler for top laner. It's going to be worth on the side of just good enough because Diana comes in. Diana gets exhausted, very, very low on the Nautilus, sorry. Gets the Sivir, finishes off the Nautilus. Let us see if Ezreal can 1v9. The waves is pushed in. It's going to be very, very hard for him to survive under this turret. He flashes away. And he somehow, 1v3, manages to survive the bot lane turret dive. That is a Diamond 2 player for you.
It's still challenging. I mean, just staying on the other side of that range, the perfect spot to where if they dive, they're going to
especially since Katarina is going to be under the turret. She ulted very early. Diana very, very aggressive. And the Rift Herald finishes her off. What do you... Whoa. I did not expect that to happen at all. Very perfectly calculated by just good enough. That Diana so ballsy coming out of the turret with like less than 100 HP. She must have TI-84 on her desk because those were those actions were so calculated.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was clean. Yeah. However, that bot lane play means that people would have to recall before, but then Diana goes in 1v3, almost deletes the Jarvan. And she does. Let's see if she gets any opportunity to kill the Ezreal here. She has to create space between her and Nautilus before the next Q. But the next Q lands.
Oh,
and
there you go.
No, but crucially, Nautilus gets the 850 gold shutdown onto the Diana. That is not worth it all in my opinion. You should have donated that to the Ezreal.
Yeah, Ezreal needed that. Ezreal's now backing. But Katarina goes in on the Anivia, and that one's going to do it, but the egg is there.
Yep, and Katarina just backs off, gets the egg, says I got the job done, no need to risk a dive, but Nautilus is coming up on the mid lane, but a ward on the bottom side river does spot it out. We'll have to see. So Nocturne taking blue buff, that's going to stunt the Jarvan quite a bit, and not to mention he only has about half the Diana CS, 55 to 100. In 13 minutes into the game, so it is currently a very heavy jungle diff as Nocturne ults in, forces away the Veigar flash as he does time and time again. Very, very worth again for the Nocturne. He's gonna keep doing that. And oh, there's gonna be a very aggressive flash from Jarvan. Very, very long engage there. He will take the turret shot, and Brand will die for through Ezreal. However, it's gonna be a kill onto the Brand on the Jarvan now. Diana counter gank, and Diana managed to get both Ezreal and Nautilus. That is the power of Diana for you, but at the same time, in the mid lane, Katarina finds an all-in on the Anivia. Wow, what an action-packed just few seconds that we had going on there for the last 20 seconds. And now we see Diana starting up the Drake, Sivir coming to assist her with that, but Katarina, with the pressure she got from killing Anivia, oh, she doesn't even have enough time. There's going to be a very heavy engage from the Diana, and she basically just one-shot the Katarina. What a powerful and not balanced champion, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was a lot just happened in the last minute. But that Diana moving where they needed to move to come down and get that gank off in the bot lane. The Nocturne has just been punishing with that that ult ability. And how do you respect that at this point? So like how do you see you know, turning the tide on this? What's the strategy that needs to come through?
I think Team on the Right strategy has to mount as much gold as possible on Ezreal in the hopes that he will be able to 1v9 late game. But as we've just seen, this Diana, she is moving on Team on the Right, especially in the gold and CS category. There's an 8-1-2 Diana for 046, but then Nocturne, he's going to go in with the ultimate. However, he's not lost in this world. It's going to be a 1-for-1. Katarina's dead, but so is Nautilus.
Ezreal
and
is still
Nocturne
alive.
and Diana. Great shutdown on Diana from the Ezreal. He's trying his hardest, but Ezreal falls at last to Bran. Bran picks up the double buffs. Very crucial few seconds there, and however, I still favor the trade here for Team on the Right because now Jarvan comes in. He's gonna engage right onto the Sivir. She can't survive that gank.
Nope.
And Veigar holds the Bran.
Wow.
600 gold shutdown on the Veigar. Let's see if he can get away from it. He can't. And Bran gets the kill on the Veigar. Now it's gonna be Anivia versus Jarvan, 1-on-1. Will there be anything happening between them? It doesn't look like there will be.
Yeah, that Veigar just, I mean, that was 25% health on Brand. Ezreal being able to survive that gank, or that, you know, that engage by Nocturne, was just able to sit in the back line and just take shots. And so, I mean, that was huge to survive that as long as they could. But then they couldn't get in the tower range, and they just got caught out by the 1v3. But I mean, that's a big fight for team on the right.
Yeah, huge fight, especially since the shutdown on Diana went over to Ezreal. That's going to help them have a very easy... Oh, but Diana engages up to 2 champions on the mid lane. Katarina is not long for this world. Diana keeps up the pressure, keeps up the engage, and that's going to be 3 very, very quick kills on the side of the red team. Very, very, very good results so far. But then we have this Ezreal against a Nocturne. Nothing comes of it, though. Wow, they had team on the right. They couldn't respond at all to that Diana engage. That's the power of Diana. Just presses R. You might as well just find that key to the delete key, in my opinion.
That was that. Again, you know, trying to get the right vision, but just camping there, waiting for someone to come up to the topside river, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Also, very crucial turret picked up, exposing the inhibitor for just good enough. Wow, the Diana is actually the highest level player in the game, and she's 3 levels ahead of Jarvan. That just tells you how far this champion is accelerated.
Yeah, picking up a lot of those kills too. 10 of them going to Diana is just tons of gold.
Yeah. She does have a stacked Dark Seal. Well, are they starting up the Baron? But that's not a good idea because not Baron, I'm sorry, the Rift Herald, but they use this as an opportunity to engage. So Casey the Knight, not long for this world, gets shut down. That's not a very good engage actually on the side of just good enough because they didn't have that many players available to engage with. And instead it's going to be Ezreal and Veigar picking up the scraps here. Sivir's the only one surviving, and what a turn of events for team on the right.
Yeah, trying to get that late rift, maybe that would be the last one. They wanted to really crack open mid lane, I guess, to run that down, but that did not go any way that they thought it was going to go. I'm sure that they were looking at that as a win condition, and instead it was a wipe. Almost an ace off that one.
Yeah, honestly, I think the game was in favor of just good enough up until now, but they might have just given them the golden ticket to come back because that fight, I think they were trying to mirror the previous fight where they had before, where team on the right cannot respond to the power of Nocturne and Diana engage, but they just didn't have enough people in the fight, and as you can see, Ezreal and company survived the initial engage to then be able to turn the tide of battle with the Jarvan ultimate and the Nocturne and the Nautilus. So yeah.
Yeah, and a risky play too. I mean, you saw that wall went up from Anivia, and Ezreal made the decision to just say, just screw it. Oh, that was so close.
Yeah, very, very close.
Just said, you know what, I'm going to flash over this, and I'm going to take it. I think it was a flash over that, unless they blinked. But here we go, another fight happening in jungle.
Yeah, Diana trying to flex her muscle, and she goes in on the Jarvan. Jarvan is promptly deleted. That Zhonya's is very crucial for the Diana. It allows her to survive, and she's going ham into the backline, but Ezreal does pick it up. Now it's a matter of who has the most damage. Ezreal gets stunned, but Veigar and Ezreal. Veigar with the triple kill. They managed to clean up everyone because Nocturne is not in the fight.
I wish I had a cam. I'm literally like holding my face. That was jaw open, holding my face as that Ezreal able to get, or Ezreal, and again the just massive amount of damage being done by this Veigar. Getting out of that cage.
Yeah, but still getting stunned up by some reason, and then Ezreal gets a free turret mid lane because there's no one to contest that.
Is that what happened? I think Oh no, Nocturne, did they use their R to get out of that cage that
No.
Hotline to take?
I think, I'm not sure. I think the Nocturne just pressed Alt to help in the fight, but
Oh, okay.
every time I replay that fight, I keep thinking, what if Nocturne had teleported into position prior to the fight? How would that affect the dynamic of the fight that ensued?
Yeah, trying to I guess apply a ton of pressure with the split push to maybe draw them away so they could not be 5v4, but it just didn't work out that way. And I mean, team on the right was very low in that fight, but Ezreal was super healthy, and Veigar was able to chase that brand down. The power that
Yeah,
they're able to put
absolutely.
off now, and the scaling is only going to favor Veigar as as they can sustain this game.
Yeah.
Veigar is going to be just punishing.
Yeah, Diana's power will fall off a cliff, so to speak, in the late game as she sees an opportunity but gets stunned up instead.
Not good.
Wombo combo, but a shutdown on the Veigar as well as the Jarvan. That's the power of Diana. Very chaotic fight going on in the back line. We had no idea who's going to win. Ezreal and Nautilus, 2v2 against the world. It's going to be a 1v1 right now. He gets the Sivir, and now it's a 3v2. We do get the Nautilus in the back line. Now it's going to be Ezreal 3v1, and Diana finishes it off with the dash.
There we go. Oof.
Yeah, that's
Great
a few
though.
crucial
Jeez.
moments there for just good enough.
They're going to start this up.
Absolutely. AC's team, they see the opportunity for the Baron. I think they should. I'm not sure if they should actually leave the Baron until Sivir respawns, but nonetheless, very good team fight win and Baron pickup for just good enough.
Now, the other thing, I was just about to say, if you recall, there was a Rift Herald picked up, and it was at maybe 2 seconds left on its timer before Jarvan dropped that. So,
wow.
Yeah, they just dropped it mid lane just as a way to have it. But that was, maybe too much action going on, not able to get it. But that was the Rift from earlier that was so decisive, possibly decisive, and they just never got a chance to get it off.
Yeah, unfortunately didn't get the team on the right that much value, I'm afraid, because of the Baron empowered minions as well as the positioning of the Herald in general. But I think we witnessed that last fight, the power of accelerated Diana, how she was able to survive the engage from 2 members of the enemy team to, turn around the fight and kill them immediately, especially with the Zhonya's Hourglass. And then after that, we see the follow-up from the Nocturne, and then it was just a test between how are we gonna take out the Ezreal before he pokes us all down, and that's very, very entertaining to see.
Yeah, a really entertaining game. I mean, the fights in this game have been incredibly entertaining. So the question now is, can they use this buff and to make something happen, or is team on the right able to keep this wall at bay? I mean, they have an open door in the mid lane, and if they can crack that inhib, then that's going to be huge. But the question is, can they get there in time?
Yep.
Considering
The
there's also a
Ocean
dragon
Soul is gonna be up
that's
for grabs.
pretty important. Drake coming up too, so that's gonna actually hurt their Baron buff in some ways.
Yep. However, Ocean Soul is one of the more powerful souls, and it's going to be very crucial for either team to get this next Drake.
And look who's not in this fight. Nocturne,
eventually,
split push
I
Nocturne.
think the value of the Ocean Soul might overpower the value of the Ezreal. And we see here these two teams, positioning. Jarvan taken pretty low. And it's going to be Ezreal who picks up the dragon. What a clutch moment. Diana goes into the backline, but so does Katarina. Diana pops the Zhonya's Hourglass to survive. Katarina dies on the backline. 3v2. Sivir face tanking everything, but still manages to go out. But then they have Nocturne split pushing in the top lane. He's breaching the gates. He has the Baron buffed. They have to recall, but Sivir with a very, very good Q. But she sacrifices her life for Ezreal. In return, can he back before the Nocturne is stopped? But Nocturne, he decides not to go for the turrets and instead backs off.
Yeah, could have possibly almost had 2 inhibs on that. I mean, look, at these minions are going to take care of it. They are, so that's 2 inhibs. Split push
So
Nocturne, new meta.
Absolutely. I still think it's a net win for team on the right though, because it buys more time for Ezreal to scale. They don't have to worry about the Ocean Soul, at least for now. And it delays a potential Elder Dragon buff for the side of Just Good Enough. And just like you said, it also hampers the Baron buff because the Just Good Enough, they had to stop split pushing, or they had to put resources rather to getting the dragon instead of using the Baron buff. So yeah, very good points here.
Yeah, and it's, you know, they've got 2 inhibs, so the Ezreal though, we're really starting to watch that the damage, you know, pops over the wall and takes Sivir out when Sivir's still got 25-30% health. So Ezreal is becoming incredibly dangerous. Veigar is becoming incredibly dangerous, and if they can get in these fights and keep Ezreal alive long enough to snipe and keep Veigar alive long enough to just, you know, drop a cage, Jarvan cage, all in. I mean, there might be some really changes.
Jarvan engaged straight into the backline onto Diana. She is surrounded by people. Yeah, 1v5. No hope of surviving no matter how fed you are.
And that's a problem because that's 45 seconds of no Diana. So that's not what they want right now. Yeah, they're floating around the bot side looking to clear vision, but I mean they have to wait now. Because it's not in their favor if they get caught out. Now the other thing for the team on the right is they get all of this farm gold. So they're sitting back maybe turtling playing defense, but they're just picking up money. So that's just going to help them scale too if they can keep this from happening. Getting Diana out of there really helps them.
Sivir forces pop the ultimate. Is Katarina over-engaging? No. They did crucially pop the Sivir ultimate prior to the Baron, which is going to be in less than a minute here on the top side of the map. We'll see how that later plays on.
Ezreal's trying to land these combos. Everybody's
30
getting
seconds
just out of the way.
Baron. Yep,
Yeah.
You see that Jarvan pinging the Baron. He's like saying to his team, you know, this is something we have to fight. And, you know, absolutely right. It's but I think with that earlier Diana pick, what team on the right essentially did was buy them about 1 minute of extra time into the game because Diana couldn't, you know, affect the game at all.
Yeah, and let's see.
So
the gold real quick. I know
it's gonna be 49k to 56, 7k gold lead on the side of Just Good Enough. Oh, but Nocturne, he's gonna face check the bush, and that's gonna be greeted by. Oh, but the Nocturne Heat, they're just not taking. They don't have enough damage. Team on the right, because Ezreal's not in the fight yet. But now you see that, start to see the Ezreal damage. The front line of team on the right is getting melted by the Anivia. But now let's see, can the Nocturne do anything? He has that GA to save him. It's gonna be a 4 versus 5 for the side of Just Good Enough, and crucially, the Veigar and the Jarvan and the Nautilus, they all have very low health bars. So I think they're going to have to give this Baron up. We'll see if team on the right can connect Drake on the bottom side.
Yeah, crucial engage there, going for that pixel push, and just getting caught out. But it didn't work out, and it's just, they couldn't just do the, like you said, they couldn't do the damage on Nocturne. He wasn't able to go down.
Especially since Nocturne has the Sterix Gauge and Guardian Angel, two very good items to counter the heavy engage. I think it's kind of not worth it for team on the right to use so many ultimates and resources to try to kill the Nocturne, especially since Diana is a higher priority target. So maybe pulling the trigger a little bit too early there.
Yeah, as we see here,
there's going to be no contest.
The inhibs are coming back, but they do have the Baron buff, so now they don't have to worry about Drake, and they can focus on the waves. And we'll see how team on the right can defend against this and fend off this empowered Baron buffed Just Good Enough team, and you know, hope for that base engage and maybe get a wipe. but now they have to choose which direction they're going to go, as we've got all the towers down, inhib open and being fought in the mid lane.
Alright, Sivir pops the ultimate, tries to get away. Nothing doing though, and that buys Nocturne some time to split push as well as the Diana, but the red team is split right now. Diana's caught out and she's alone. She has to pop the Zhonyan. That is a very good fight for team on the right. Diana's already dead. However, that is the Nautilus picked up. And you see the Ocean Drake, it just keeps team on the right unable to kill any members of Just Good Enough besides the Diana. And you see that Sivir damage, that Empower Q hitting the members of the back line. It's going to be Veigar traded over for Nocturne. Nocturne tries to TP out of there because he has flashed, but then it's the Baron Empowered minions. They're too strong for team on the right. Is this going to be the game end? Yes, it is. It's going to be GG for team, not for team on the right, for Just Good Enough, rather.
The other team.
Very, very impactful game.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. That
So
last
many good
fight.
fights.
Absolutely. I think the Diana just forced too many cooldowns from team on the right there, and they couldn't defend the Nexus because after that initial engage, the Ocean Drake just kept the Just Good Enough's team members just healthy enough to finish off the fight and the Nexus by extension. So, looking into advanced details here, Ezreal completely 1v9 this game with the highest champion damage. And yeah, what are your thoughts?
I mean, like you said, the not taking out the cooldowns, that the Zonia pops from Diana were just so crucial. They would focus Diana, and then Diana would just take themselves out of the game for a few seconds, and that all of a sudden, all the damage that was focused on Diana was wasted essentially. And so they had to transfer that to somebody else, and by that point, Diana's back in the game. And so those Zonia plays were so crucial to kind of mix those teams up. But there were a couple vision, looked like some vision issues, face checking a couple times, and I think, um, yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of really great fights that were brought down to, one player left, two players left, and then who can clean up after that. And so you could tell they were trying to play protect the Ezreal and let the Veigar do the damage, and it was starting to work, but it was just a late game strategy that couldn't eke out the late game compared to the JGE team comp.
Yeah, I think very interesting note you said about vision control. One of the plays that Just Good Enough actually won is when the Nocturne face checked the bush, which I think is completely hilarious. And I think to add on to that, when Cal was here earlier, he said if the Ezreal had less than 3 deaths during laning phase, that they would win the game. But I think we'll have to get a replay of how many times Ezreal died in laning phase for that bet to come out.
Yeah, it was, and I mean, a lot of important decisions had to be made too. I mean, early on we saw that first Drake go, and it was like, okay, so how's this game going to go? Is it going to go play for the Drakes or play for the objectives, for the towers, for the lanes? And ultimately it just turned out that Diana was just fed. I mean, it was feed the Diana. Diana had 10 kills, I think, at around 20 minutes or so, and just became really, really difficult to play around.
Yep.
Um, and there were some really great plays though. I'll tell you that. That one play down in bot lane where Ezreal just kept skipping around and just survived. I mean, there was a lot of great stuff happening, and really entertaining fights. I mean, it was a great game, and I think team on the right just needed a couple more minutes and a couple
More
different
items as well.
decisions and yeah, a few items, and they were trying to scale out, and you could see that damage coming in later, but it just wasn't enough to turn it.
Yeah, well, that's it for this week. For all the people who are watching on Twitch, thank you so much for tuning in. Would you have anything else to say?
No, we'll be back next Thursday. We've got we'll probably have a double header next week as we've got some reschedules. So we'll be here 7 Eastern for back-to-back games. So we'll see you next week, and
Yep,
we'll
if
have
you
some
enjoy our
highlights from
content,
this week too.
If you enjoy your content, please don't hesitate to give us a follow. It does help to support this channel, and hopefully we get Twitch affiliated pretty soon. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that would be awesome. And we'll be putting out some more games too as the season goes on, some like friendlies between the coaches. So thanks for checking us out. You can always check us out too at coachrivals.gg so you can see all the past streams because we'll save all these to the YouTube as well. So thanks for coming and watching, and we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.